You want to move to Seattle and you want to know exactly what to look out for, what to expect? Well, here it is. I'm going to tell you. We moved to Seattle from the Midwest. Actually, we moved from the Midwest to the Southwest, and from the Southwest to Seattle. One of the things that stands out instantly that you hear a lot of people talk about on YouTube is the expense. Housing is very expensive, whether you rent, whether you buy, it's very expensive. Coming from an area where, most of the country kind of falls in line with, except for the East Coast, except for obviously the West, except for the coasts. Most rentals are not super expensive. It's kind of an average. If you look across the Midwest and the South, you kind of have the same average price. When you go to places like Boston and Seattle, the prices are similar. Chicago and Seattle, the prices are similar. San Francisco, the price for housing and things like that is a little bit more, but not too much more. It's very expensive to own a house in Seattle. Not only is it expensive to own a house, but also property taxes here are very, very high because of all the construction projects as far as building light rail systems and as far as road infrastructure that they have to catch up on and bridge infrastructure. It's very expensive. So expect to pay a lot more than what you may be accustomed to. The average price for a home here is over $500,000, and we're not talking about a glamorous house. We're talking about your basic American 3-bedroom house. You're going to probably, what you would normally pay about $150, $160, $180, or $200,000 every place else, you're going to probably pay at least $500,000 to $600,000. Typically, anything north of downtown up to about Everett, you're going to be paying about that. Once you get into Everett, which is far north in Marysville, the price goes down a little bit, but still you're paying a handsome sum. There's parts of Seattle when you go south of like Soto and all of that stuff where it gets a little bit better. And you have South Seattle, which is a little bit cheaper. But again, still, for what you get, you're going to be paying more than what you would see in most places in the country. So be prepared for that. Rentals are going to also be pretty pricey as well. Expect a studio. If you want to live downtown, a studio is going to probably be $1,700-$1,800 or more just for a studio. And you can kind of gauge where everything else falls in between there. It's expensive because you have Amazon that's building up South Lake Union. It's expensive because downtown's booming. But it's just very expensive to get anything downtown unless you really and truly are making a lot of money. That goes to the next thing is what to expect with Seattle is a lot of construction. There's so much road work going on because there's so many people that have moved into the city recently that the roads can't handle it. You're seeing them redo Roosevelt all the way down. So Roosevelt's a kind of a major roadway that goes north to south, and it literally goes from up here around Northgate all the way down to the University District. And it literally is construction on that road all the way through. They're not only redoing the road, they're redoing the sidewalks on both sides. There's also several different large buildings being developed on that road all at the same time, and they're building a light rail subway station right there as well. So on this stretch of road, which stretched for several miles, it's nothing but construction, and it's pretty major. That's just one example. And then when you go into downtown, construction everywhere. There's buildings going up all over the place. Literally, there's cranes all over the sky. You'll see tons of cranes. There's tons of construction on roads. There's tons of construction just with buildings. There's tons of street construction as well because of expanding the roads or trying to resurface them. You also have light rail projects going on downtown in terms of streetcars that they're still trying to develop and implement into the city. So you have a lot of construction. Also, the biggest thing is the viaduct. We have a viaduct system where roads have been traveling on due to earthquakes and things like that. It's not so sound. So now they're building 99 underground. So it's a huge tunnel, and that's a massive construction project that's going on. They also redid the waterfront, which is a huge construction project that's still undertaking. So there's a lot of construction. Just be prepared for that. Traffic. It's a nightmare. I can't tell it to you any other way. There's people who come from Atlanta, Georgia, and they will tell you it's a nightmare. There's people who come from Los Angeles or San Francisco and say it's a nightmare. Traffic here in Seattle is very, very bad. It doesn't matter really what time of the day. Now, I do have to say when it's nighttime, not so much. There's a lot of freedom. I can get from, I'm about 10 miles or so from downtown. I can get from here to downtown like, 15 minutes. But now during the day, if it's any time during the day, until about 7 p.m., 8 p.m., it's going to probably take me 45 minutes to an hour sometimes if it's peak times just to get that far. Traffic is very bad. If you live farther away to the north, traffic is horrible because we have I-5, which is mainly the only interstate that runs north to south from the Canadian border all the way down to California. So that interstate is the only one that runs through Seattle. Now, there's other interstates that go through Bellevue and things like that, but if you're going from the northern suburbs down to Seattle, it's going to be painful for you. Just so be prepared for that. Also in the city, Seattle has a tremendous amount of traffic. It's a very dense city. With that said, something that you have to adjust to is very tight spaces. Not only are apartments typically much smaller than what you may be used to, depending upon where you're from, but also parking spaces and roads are very narrow. There's some roads here that take bi-directional traffic, but they're only wide enough really for one car. So you literally have to, there may be cars parked on both sides of the street, and you have a very small space for you to drive through, but it's a bi-directional road, and you see many of these, and you literally have to wait until you can hopefully find a space that's open to pull into a little bit to let the other car pass, or vice versa. So there's a lot of those streets throughout Seattle that you have to worry about. You also have to worry about tight turning. If you have a larger vehicle, it's going to be a bit of a headache to park. It's going to be a bit of a headache to somewhat navigate because you have some of these very narrow streets in the city where you have to kind of navigate through, squeeze through. Nowadays, I can squeeze through some of the most tiniest spots that normally before I wouldn't even attempt. But you get used to it over time because everything is just very clustered. One of the things that you can also expect is a lot of events and things to do. There's never a bored moment that you should have here in Seattle if you get out and explore it. There's tons of stuff to do. I did a video about what I love about Seattle, which talks about, and I put that in the description box, but it talks about all the things to do that are really cool here, from the waterfront to Pike Place Market to Sodo, which is where all of the, that's south of downtown, but, the Stadium District is there. You have Chinatown over there. All of these are connected by the streetcar and the light rail system, and they're expanding the light rail system and the streetcar system as well. So there's tons of stuff to do on the waterfront. There's tons of stuff to do in the suburbs because there's tons of different things that you can go to. There's a lot of arenas that you can go and watch various different minor league sports. Tacoma has their own minor league baseball team down there. They also have concerts at the Tacoma Dome. Everett has, its own arena up there. Kent has its own arena where the WNBA plays, I believe, and they also have various different sporting events. So if sports are your thing, Seattle is your town. If you love to actually have events to go to, plays and concerts and you name it, hey, there's tons of stuff to actually do here in Seattle. What you can also expect is a lot of tourism. There's a lot of tourists. When I went to San Francisco, I was just dizzied by, if that's a word, I was just amazed by all the people. There was just so many people, not only tourists, but just locals just everywhere, all the time. It's just busy, busy, busy. Seattle is getting to that point too. There's so many tourists that come in that you constantly see people all the time, especially obviously downtown. There's people that want to take in the underground. We have an underground city tour that people like. There's riding the ducks, which you can go around and see the city. People want to go and see the different islands that are there, so they may take the ferry or they may fly those little planes there. There's tons of places that you can actually go just using the ferry system, the water taxis, you name it. So there's so much to actually do here. Also, what you can expect is a lot of outdoor events. There's a lot of paddleboarding, there's a lot of kayaking, there's a lot of boating, there's a lot of fishing. There's a lot of great activities to do outdoors, hiking. We have Mount Rainier not far from here, so you can go there. Mount St. Helens is more closer to Tacoma, but again, you can go there too if you don't mind hiking up these very tall volcanic mountains that have snow on them. Then hey, this is your bet. Seattle has a lot of what you can expect is there's a lot of water, so we're surrounded by it. I do apologize, it's getting loud now. But there's a lot of water, so you can enjoy lots of beaches, whether they're on fresh water, salt water. We have Green Lake, which is also a huge lake in the middle of the city where you can go and kind of walk around and enjoy. You can do a lot of exercise there. It's a huge lake, so Google that, Google Green Lake and look it up. It's a big area for you to actually enjoy. It has its own little beach as well. Beaches such as Golden Gardens, Alki Beach, which is in West Seattle. They have the Edmonds Beach. There's tons of places that you can go and experience Seattle. Let's not forget also Gasworks Park is another place that you can go to. It gives you a great view of what the city looks like from this part of the city. From the north looking down, you can see all of it. It's beautiful. So there's so much that you can expect here in Seattle. People talk about the Seattle freeze. Is it true? I kind of think that it is. People kind of keep to themselves in Seattle more so than other places. People don't really want to talk to you that much. Folks will be nice to you, obviously, if you ask them questions, but you have to kind of pull for it. So if that's not something you're used to, it's kind of big city attitude. So people really kind of keep to themselves. They don't really talk to you. Down in Tacoma, it's a little bit different. People are a lot more outgoing, a lot more friendlier. It's kind of like a small town. They just say hi to you for no good reason. It's awesome. So those are some of the things I hope that it helps you with ideas about Seattle. If there's anything else, ask it in the comment section. And until next time, I'm going to see you. Take care.